present with other members of her family when they presented her late husband's major international peace prizes to the people of Derry in a ceremony at the Guildhall. SDLP leader Colm Eastwood paid tribute to Mrs Hume, saying without her there would have been no peace process in Ireland. Abba have announced their first album in 39 years and have launched 2 new songs. The Swedish band have also unveiled plans for a high-tech concert show featuring digital versions of themselves. It'll open next year at a purpose-built site in East London. Speaking on the Abba Voyage YouTube channel, Benny and Bjorn said nothing had changed between them.
Memories rushing back, or should I say the kind of relationships, the bonds that we have. It all came rushing back in a matter of seconds.
That's a funny thing, you know. It's been 40 years between our 39 when we recorded 38, and it was like no time had passed.
It's 9:02.
News Talk Weather.
Thanks to Ryanair. Go to a Premier League game this year with daily flights to London, Liverpool and Manchester.
Continuing mainly dry with clear breaks in the clouds, lowest temperatures of 6 to 11 degrees with mist or fog patches forming. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
It's the competition giving you life-changing cash. The 25k giveaway on News Talk.
Yeah, that's right. It's your chance to win yourself a wedge of cash. What you do with it is entirely up to you. Maybe you can get some referees on our side for some of the qualifiers that are coming up. All you got to do to enter is answer this question correctly, and we could be calling you back on Friday with the cash. Which Hollywood actor has been touring Ireland playing golf? Is it A, Bill Murray, or B, Jedward? Text the word play to 57599 with your answer, A or B. It's $2.50 to play, plus your standard message rate. You got to be over 18. You're playing across the Go Loud network of stations. Full terms and conditions are on our website. Get your entry in by Friday at 3, and we could well be calling you. You got to answer within 5 rings, and the cash is all yours. It's a chance to win €25,000. Text play to 57599 with your answer, and the very best of luck. Right now, it is time for the Football Show with John Giles.
The Football Show on Off the Ball.
I'm prepared to do anything I can to play my country again.
Do it then. What about your start to the game?
It wasn't bad, was it?
Why should an honest answer be a mistake?
How can a modern day manager not have a mobile phone?
Why should he?
You're welcome along to Thursday's Football Show, and I am delighted to say, for the first time in 18 months, John Giles is back in studio with us. Great to see you, John.
Thanks, Nathan.
You're looking
it's great
well.
to be back.
You're looking well.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah, we've had some tough conversations over the past 18 months. I know it was particularly the early months of the pandemic were a very difficult time for you, and having to isolate and all that, not being able to make the trips back and forth from Ireland, not really being able to get outside the house, but thankfully some signs of normality.
Yes, fingers crossed today. Now, as I said to you in the early days before I got the jabs, and I'm still worried about it, but I was terrified of it before I got the jabs. I was lucky enough I got the jabs fairly early.
Yeah.
So that was a big relief. There's no doubt. But getting back to Dublin is a big surprise, because as you say, it's 18 months or so since I was over in that. So it's great to be over.
Yeah, and you're living over in Birmingham, been living in Birmingham for a long time, but you still have a lot of family and a huge amount of friends here in Ireland, and as I say, you were back and forth every couple of weeks and would spend a lot of the year here in Dublin, so to not have that outlet, I'd say, was difficult.
Yeah, it was very difficult, very difficult. Like I've got a daughter here, a son here with grandkids and that, you know, and not being able to get over was just a different world, different way. So it's great now that it's loosened up a bit, so it get over for.
You feeling comfortable being out and about now?
Not better than I was, Nathan. Yeah.
Getting a pint in, that's the main thing.
Oh yeah, now and again.
Yeah. And listen, we've had a huge amount of support for you, as I said to you, over the last 18 months. Every time you've been on, lots of people sending in their best wishes and hoping you were keeping well. And you're over now, and the FAI are honouring you. You are in the FAI Hall of Fame for the second time.
Yeah.
That's a true judge of greatness. Getting in once is good. Getting in twice. There's a good player and there's a great player. Good players can get into a Hall of Fame once. Great players get in twice.
Well, maybe it's who you know, as they say. No, it's a great honour. I'm totally unexpected, to be honest, but it's always nice to get something like that. Yeah.
This is the centenary of the FAI, so they've decided to honour both yourself and Paula Gorham as centenary members of the Hall of Fame, and you're going to get a special award before the Portugal game in Dublin in November, which will be brilliant. Actually, there should be at least, it may well be a full house at the Aviva Stadium that night with the way restrictions are going. So to get out on the pitch in front of 50,000 Irish supporters would be pretty special.
Well, a long time since I did that. the only time, last time I was out there, I could run around.
Yeah.
I won't be expected to run around this time. I wouldn't be able to anyway.
You might see Cristiano Ronaldo walking past and you can say to him, all you ever do is score goals.
Yeah. He'd say, yeah.
Yeah. What else do you want from me? What else do you want from me?
Only 1,000 of them, that's all.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. We've spoken a lot about Cristiano Ronaldo in recent weeks and talking about his genius a lot throughout the European Championship. And it is the one thing you've always said about Cristiano Ronaldo in the last 3-4 years, how you're always amazed how he can just float through a game, do absolutely nothing, not let it bother him, and pop up and score the goals. And God, did we ever see a better example than last night against Ireland?
Brilliant headers, as we know. But he, like, if he hadn't scored the 2 goals, then you say, what was he doing? But he has this temperament or approach to football. And I know I've said it before, but I just find it amazing now. Because when I saw him playing early on for Manchester United, I wasn't a big fan of his. I thought, you're a bit lazy and you should be working for the team. And I didn't realise what he was until much later. Because the thing was, as you say, in the early days, my press, Ronaldo, all he does is score goals, which he did, but he scored tons, as we know, hundreds of goals in there. But what's amazing about him, again, I keep repeating it, Nathan, is to have the mental attitude that he has to that. In other words, when he played yesterday, right, he hardly got a kick at the ball. You could say, well, he didn't play well at all. He contributed next to nothing. But then he comes up with the 2 fantastic headers to win the match. And not for the first time, on a regular basis. I can only say, when I played football, and a lot of people that are new, if you didn't get a kick at the ball, or very little ball after 15 minutes, you'd say, God, I'd better get into this game. I've seen Ronaldo go 20 minutes, not touch the ball. And it doesn't bother him.
Yeah.
I know I've repeated that and said that a few, but that's unbelievable. I never came across that attitude before.
Because you would often talk of, say, strikers with unshakable belief, a Jimmy McGreaves, who always believed he was always going to score.
Yeah.
But even someone like him needed to be involved in the game, couldn't just wait and have that patience that Ronaldo has.
Jimmy would come deeper and try to get into the game, and Jimmy was exceptional in his day because he was a genius of a finisher. But he'd be more in the game than Ronaldo. Because I think Jim thought, well, I better do something. Whereas Ronaldo thinks, I'm not going to do anything, I don't care. All I'll do is score a couple of great goals. Not all the time, but most of the time he does it.
And it's not a laziness either in not tracking back. Because if you look at, there was footage last night after the game of his movement for the second goal, and Portugal sort of kept recycling the ball and didn't throw it into the area straight away from him. And he must have made 10 separate short little bursts to get away before eventually Seamus Coleman switched off for a split second. And out of nowhere, Ronaldo appears behind him. And that's in the 96th minute of the game, at 36, to still have that energy, drive, desire, and I guess intelligence as well.
Well, the reason he has that, Nathan, because he hasn't run around during the match.
Yeah.
That doesn't bother him, because he saved that energy. Like, if he ran around and played getting back and running here and running there and running there, he wouldn't have the energy late on in the game to be able to do it. That's why it doesn't bother him. Like, he's saying, I'm going to score goals. And this is the best way to score goals. I'm not going to score goals running back and tackling people and doing it, because he wouldn't have the energy to do it then. So we wait for it. But to have the temperament and the confidence to wait, I've never come across that before, ever.
I know you love Messi. Is Ronaldo the best striker you've ever seen? The best goal scorer?
Well, he would score goals that Messi doesn't score, particularly in the air. I mean, he's a fantastic header of the ball. And that's another thing I find extraordinary about him, because, like, in the general play, you couldn't say he's a tough guy. He doesn't get involved in tackles all that much. But when the ball's in the air, he's as brave as anybody I've ever seen in football.
Yeah,
it's amazing the things he has or doesn't have, that he makes a minus in a lot of things. In my take on it, a minus into a plus. If he'd been running around like that, Nathan, like you'd say, well, we're a goal now, or I've got to do this, that. It doesn't bother him, because he has this confidence that if I get chances, I'll do the most important thing in football, that's score goals. And they were the manager was very good too in the lead up to it. they brought on the Portuguese lad. Was it Moutinho?
John Moutinho in the middle midfield,
Right.
yeah.
Now, normally in that situation, when it's getting near the end, players panic a bit. I've seen it. They put the big centre half up, centre forward, right? So we've got to attack them. We've got to attack them. Whereas the best thing to do is to keep your head, keep playing the way you're playing, and he did that in the middle of the field. He didn't panic at all. He's an experienced player. But when he got the ball, there was no whooping it. They never whooped it in the air, did they? Into the box.
Yeah, even in that last passage of play, there was a time where it came to Moutinho, middle of the pitch, 30 yards out, and you thought, Ronaldo wants it now. And he played it, sort of drilled it along the ground out to the left-hand side, just kept it going, worked it back again.
It's a very difficult thing to do in football at any level, but particularly at that level. That what would you do if we were winning 2-0? Right? You do what he did, get on the ball and pass there. Now, a lot of players, when they're in that position, 1-0 down with a few minutes to go, woof it up in the middle, and that's easy for defenders. And usually the crowd, that's what they want you to do. Do you know what I mean? If you get on the ball and you play, and get it in there, get it. I had it myself a few times when I played. Yeah. Get it. But the thing to do is to keep doing it, patient, keep doing the right thing, keep doing the right thing. And that's where Portugal were very good. We were defending desperately at that particular stage, but they weren't hoofing the ball in. I mean, the 2 goals that Ronaldo scored were from good crosses.
Yeah.
Like you say, he had time to get away from Seamus Coleman to get the header in. But if that had been coming from a certain angle where you were get it in there, you would never get that position to head it into the goal. So that's the great thing that was really good about the coach and Portugal. And then to have Ronaldo being able to do what he does with the patience that he has. Most players don't. I've never, well, again, I'll go back, keep on about it. I've never seen a player like Ronaldo, ever. That his attitude, well, all I'll do is score goals. And have the patience, not to get a kick the ball for 10 minutes, not to do anything, but come alive, be the real Ronaldo when that ball is going to come in the box or in and around the box to get it in. It's fantastic.
Yeah, 111 international goals now, a world record for Cristiano Ronaldo. There was a documentary a few years ago where they were looking at his ability as how high he could jump, and they did it from a standing start, and it wasn't impressive at all. So just standing and jumping, but from a running start.
But he was always
like
on the
an
move.
NBA player.
That's why he'd went,
the way he could leap.
That's why he'd have a good idea. He'd say that they were going to cross it from the right. He'd have a good idea. I don't want to get too far in because that's going to be too. I've got to give myself that couple of yards to get the in. He's a genius when it comes to those particular situations. Absolute genius, because he can sniff it out before it happens, and getting up there and doing it and having the. But the thing is, he's about 6'3", you know, Ronaldo. I mean, he's a huge big lad.
Yeah.
And when he gets
physical specimen as well, then
exactly.
He gets a run in you.
Fit as a fiddle. He wants some. He's getting up. The height he got for the two goals was typical Ronaldo.
Yeah.
Very few people can do that. Absolutely brilliant.
We'll come back to Cristiano Ronaldo and the Manchester United that Cristiano Ronaldo are going to get and how he's going to fit in there. Looking at the match then from an Irish point of view last night, you mentioned Ireland were defending desperately in those closing minutes, but for 85 minutes of the game it didn't seem like they were defending desperately. While Portugal had a lot of the ball, it did seem as though Ireland had a bit of a game plan that when they won it back they knew what they were going to do, which isn't something we've always seen from them, particularly in the last year under Stephen Kenny, but even going back to the 4 or 5 years before that.
Yeah, there was a lot to admire about the play, and a lot better than we played in the past. But actually, when you get in a situation you're winning like that, and I said that Portugal didn't lose their heads, right? But the Irish lads, in certain ways, did, because the only way you can defend those particular situations is to get the ball yourself, and that's usually the midfield players. Get it, play it simple here, play it. They take the heat out of it all the time. We've nobody to do that. It was a bit like, we've got to defend, we're going to get back there. Now we were under pressure, and that's what the difference, like what I'm saying about Portugal and Moutinho, the lad that came on, like he was brilliant. Nobody would take any notice because he only got it and he gave it and he gave and he gave. That was patience, because most people panic and say, get it in there, right? But when that was happening to us, we needed somebody badly to do Moutinho.
Do we have that player? Because like João Moutinho's 34, 35, I think he's played nearly 140 times for Portugal. He's been one of the best European midfielders of the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Ireland to Josh Cullen, I think, making his 10th appearance,
I know.
playing at Andy. Like, is there someone in there that could have actually done that?
Well, there is, but they have to have the mentality and the confidence to do it. It's difficult because when you're getting near the end of the game, you see it happens most of the time. You get further and further back. You can't get out. You know what I mean? And especially with Portugal, because they weren't lobbing it in there. You know, they were doing. So we needed somebody to get, and it's a very difficult thing to do. I don't think we had the player on the pitch to be able to do it. What I'm saying is that's what we needed. We didn't have it, right? But which is, it's a difficult job to do when you're up against it, and the other team is playing well. But it can be done, you know, and you can make it really work for you. You can with the right players if they're throwing everything on it that particular way. You get on in the middle of the field and bang, 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 you can get through. But we didn't have that type of player. But to be fair to the midfield players that we had, they did give everything that they had. But when you're losing the ball as easily as we did, like the big lad up front, he was on his own. It was very difficult for him to hold it up.
Yeah. As they got deeper and deeper.
And we got deeper and deeper, you know, that was difficult. But if you don't do that, and particularly when you have a Ronaldo playing against you, they're going to take advantage of it. So the best thing you can do is try and get a hold of the ball. There's only one ball on the pitch. And if you can get that and give it here, give it there, play it out to left wing, that's the best way of running down the clock, rather than sitting back. Because you get that far back, you can't get out. And that's what happened to us. Is
there anything Stephen Kenny could have done to prevent that happening in the last 5 minutes?
No, I don't think so. It happens to an awful lot of teams, Nathan. We're near the end, we'll hang on, you know, and the best way to hang on is to get the ball. But I don't think we had anybody in the middle of the field to have the experience to say, give it to me, or to do the job that needed to be done. But there was a lot of good stuff came out of the match for Ireland in relation to previous matches. There was more about us in many ways. I mean, Coleman and Doherty, I thought, were absolutely outstanding, and a lot of the defenders. We were better in midfield. We're a bit short up front. Ida?
Adam Ida, yeah.
He's a young lad.
And he's just gone 20, not playing first team football.
Yeah, like what he needed or what we needed. And there was a few times when it was played up to him, just to hold it, bring the midfield players and get out of that situation that you're all in your own penalty box. But that's not easy to do either. You know what I mean? You need a top class player up there with 2 or 3 defenders to hold it, to give the midfield players a chance to get up and get out of the box. And overall, they did well.
A lot of what you're talking about there seems to be experience, because, like, again, we're talking about young players with 10 or less caps. So do you look at that as a performance that gives you confidence for the future, but that if we're here in a year's time, 18 months' time, having the same conversation, we've got a problem? But actually, Adam Ida in 18 months' time should have matured enough, and will need to have matured enough to actually be able to do that.
Well, there was promise there.
Yeah.
You know, I think there was more promise from the match yesterday than we've seen in previous matches, because we played better and only lost in the last. And hopefully, you know, you learn from that, and players learn from that. Ida might help for it, knowing how important, because when it's played up to him, Nathan, sometimes it doesn't look that important. But it's hugely important, because if he can hold it and make space, then the midfield players can get up behind him. But if he's doing it, which he's losing it most of the time, the midfield players don't even have a chance to get out. Now it's coming back at you again. But he learned. I mean, and I think he has.
Was he better at that in, say, the first half, the first 60 minutes before Portugal really?
Well, we were generally. You know, when it was no score, for example. When it's not. See, it's a funny thing in football. It's all psychological. When you're playing like that, and there's no score, you're not losing anything.
Yeah.
Right. When you're 1 in front with a few minutes to go, then the mind goes, now we've something to lose, and you get tied up and you sit back further than you'd want to. Do you know what I mean? Like if we'd been losing 2-1, for example, or 1-0, you would have seen a lot more attacking, and they would have had the mentality, we better hold on to this. It's also, so that's why I mentioned Moutinho. He's an experienced player, right? He was able to handle the situation as it was. He's not going to panic. He's going to keep playing, he's going to keep playing, he's going to keep playing, doing the right things. Because the right thing is the right thing, no matter what the score is. But with players, it's psychologically, if you're a goal in front, you're going to sit back because you've something to lose. You know, if a goal down, now you're throwing everything.
And that's where you're looking for that one player who can come in and sort of grab the game by the scruff of the neck and say, this is what we're going to do, and just settle everything.
Regardless of the score. But it's not. You don't get many of those players around.
No, and Ireland certainly don't seem to have them just yet. You did mention Seamus Coleman and Matt Doherty. Doherty probably his best game in an Ireland jersey. Coleman as good as we've seen him as well. And Kenny did seem to come up with a system that played to Ireland's strengths. So suddenly Ireland's 2 best players were also the players who were seeing the most of the ball, who were able to be the most influential players from an Irish point of view in the game, which guess is exactly what you want. You don't want them being peripheral figures as they often are.
Well, Doherty's very good on the ball, but a couple of times with early on, he didn't actually play at full back. You know what I mean? If you go back in time, he played further.
Yeah.
He was ahead of the ball a lot. Like he wasn't, like the other day, he was a real full back and breaking at the right time. And Seamus was as well. I mean, I think when he got into early on, Doherty was more forward. He couldn't get on the ball because he was expected to do that. But it's all experience for him and for the manager. It takes a bit of time to, right, that was the right one, that was right now. I think the people will get a bit impatient because it usually takes 6 to 7 to 8 matches before you get that. You know, in Stephen's case, it went to, 11 or 12 matches.
We're 14 matches in and 1 victory.
Yeah. So it's never too late anyway, because the team was better the other day. But it does take time when you come into a new squad. And I think I said from the start, it needs about 8 matches. But after the 8 matches, we still weren't doing it. So people get impatient. But I think that people will be more patient now, having shown a bit of promise to improve for the next match. Obviously, we're going to do the same again or do better for the next match.
Yeah, and maybe 8 matches is 14 matches because of all the COVID issues they had and the amount of players that were missing when all the games were taking place last year. They just couldn't get into any sort of flow. One other Irish player to talk about, Aaron Connolly, who got himself into position again and again and again, but couldn't take the chances. I'm sort of split in that it's not an automatic thing that players get into the positions that Aaron Connolly does. So he clearly has enough about him that he can read the game well enough that he finds space, but lacks that clinical cutting edge.
Yeah.
Can he learn that?
Yeah. You see, don't forget, he's not playing first team football.
No.
For a start, he's not in the Brighton team.
No.
That's a handicap, because obviously week in, week out, that's how you improve as a player, because you get the pace of the game and all the various things. So it's very seldom you get a player who's playing mostly in the reserves that comes in at international level and plays better than he would have done, because you have to play week in and week out, get used to the pace of it and that. I think he shows a lot of promise, and I'd live with him.
Right.
I'd live with him.
You think the rest of the danger he poses means you just take that he's not going to take advantage of all his opportunities?
Well, he should get better the more matches he plays, Nathan. The more international matches he plays, he should get better if he's going to be the real deal.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we'll know after, if he's playing another 5 or 6 matches, and you say, well, he's not getting any better. Sometimes lads get worse. But I'd seen him play before, and he showed a lot of promise with making the runs that he should be making and all the various things. But he hasn't been playing at first team level, and he needs to get that into his game. So
I presume you have seen players throughout your career in those sort of scenarios where they start slowly, where the goals just aren't happening for them. Is it just a case of matches?
Yes, and getting a goal or two.
Yeah.
See, strikers, I think, depend on their abilities and what they believe in themselves more than any other players.
They need that bit of confidence.
Finishing is usually the hardest part in football. You know, centre halves can do certain things and they can improve, but goal scorers either score goals or they don't score goals.
And are totally judged on that, regardless of everything else. You've obviously been in England for the entire Stephen Kenny reign so far, and I know the English media don't pay too much of attention to what's going on in Ireland, but you've been trying to track it as much as possible. There has been a huge divide, particularly in the media in Ireland, around Stephen Kenny as to whether or not the result against Luxembourg, for example, was so calamitous that there's no way back, and that he doesn't have the experience to go on and lead Ireland for, say, another campaign into the European Championship, where it'll be more reasonable to expect qualification. Other people feel that they've seen enough in last night's performance, the Serbia game for an hour, the Slovakia playoff that went to penalties, that actually it's a very young, inexperienced team, and slowly but surely he's getting his feet under the table. Like, did you see enough last night to suggest actually the FAI need to make a commitment? In fact, I think we've got a clip of Eamon Dunphy. We don't have a clip of Eamon Dunphy, do we have? Eamon was on this morning actually on OTB AM. I played here what he was saying about whether or not Stephen Kenny should stay on.
Very, very disappointed after last night. It was the most heartbreaking defeat I think I've ever seen in any sport. But they were brilliant, Ireland, and very bad refereeing. He played 2 minutes extra in the first half at the end of the half, and he played over the 5 minutes allotted in overtime, and that's when the goal damage was done. It was really bad. We used to, struggling away from home with referees, but this was particularly bad. And they had Ronaldo's shirt ready from whether it was UEFA or the Portuguese FA, and it turned into, a celebration of Ronaldo, and no one would want to celebrate more than me his fantastic achievement, but it wasn't done the right way. They really did play over, and when you're under siege like that, every second counts. So I felt it was very unfair. However, it happened, and there was a lot of very positive stuff to take out of last night's game for Stephen Kenny and those young players. I just don't know when the bad luck is going to stop for him.
He's still got it, Eamon.
Yeah, very good.
We come on to the referee in a moment, which he was talking about, but he did also say that he felt that the FAI should go, I think, and make that commitment, and at the end of this run of games say that Stephen Kenny has the next 2 years.
What you said earlier on, it's reasonable. Nothing can happen in football is reasonable. You know what I mean? You go from star to bum in 2 matches. In Stephen's case, he needs that time. And what he showed yesterday was an improvement on the other matches. So therefore, you have to back him as much as you can and hope in time that it gets even better. Nobody's sure. We're not sure. There's been loads of managers, Nathan, who start badly and finish up okay. I mean, I had my own experience when I went there at West Brom. I didn't start very well at all.
Did you doubt yourself when things didn't go well?
No, I wouldn't go that far on it, because it was new. There was a few players that were better than I thought they were, and there was a few players worse than I expected them to be, having played against him. So it took a bit of time to find out, well, no, he's not good. And then got a couple of players in. I got Mick Martin, Irish lads that I knew. Paddy Mulligan did a really good job, and changed it around. But it took a bit of time to do it. I didn't do it straight away. And I'm only going on my experience. That a lot of experienced managers, that's what happens. And the thing that football is such an emotional game, if you call it, that you become a hero and a villain in the space of 4 or 5 weeks. That's what happens. And in Stephen's case, it went a bit longer than that. But all we can go on is the last match. There was encouragement from the way the team played. Now, what we hope for is that improves even more and more till he gets to the stage where, he's broken the thing. There's something really there.
And I do remember having a conversation with you this time last year where, again, the results hadn't really started the way Stephen Kenny would have wanted, and you were looking at the 11, and I know you were trying to choose your words carefully in terms of the players, because they've all achieved incredible things to get to play for their country, but that the talent base available was probably less than any Ireland manager has had in the last 50 years. Yeah. So you're going from that base to going up and going to Portugal and actually getting very close to a win.
Yeah, you just, like, when any manager takes over, you assume this is good, but you don't know till you try it. And I think that's what happened with Stephen as well. I mean, don't forget, when he first came in, he left Seamus Coleman out of the team and changed it around from, and I think that was a mistake. And Seamus is back in the team now. You know what I mean? You make mistakes when you're doing it first time, because you don't know till you try something. That's why you need the games. So I thought that was, but it's not. It's no good. You try it again. So, I think in Stephen's case, I wouldn't necessarily say, right, we're going to give him a 3-year contract.
Yeah.
But I'd let it go another 6, 7, 8 matches, and at that stage, we really will know, and he'll really know exactly where we're going.
The referee last night sparked a lot of debate. We have a message in from Tony in Loud. Lads, you're still going on about the off-the-ball incident with Ronaldo and Darragh O'Shea, but either you're not seeing it properly or you don't want to see it. It was a harmless, open-handed slap to the shoulder, and what you should be talking about is the fact that the Irish player attempted to make it look like an assault to the head and get the player sent off, which quite rightly the referee ignored. I'm sure John Giles will have the same view, as he was always an honest man, says Tony in Loud. What did you make of that Ronaldo incident?
Well, I think there's a couple of incidents mixed up. I think when Ronaldo did throw a point, I think he did hit him behind the back of the ear. which was a real punch. But it wasn't good. But the Irish player, who was
Darragh O'Shea.
Darragh O'Shea, actually the ball was there, right, and he kicked it away. Now, there's nothing more annoying in football, right, when somebody is doing that. You know, say a free kick, they know it's a free kick or a throw in, and they won't give you the ball, that type of thing. Like, why did he kick the ball away?
Well, the reason he kicked the ball away was to get that reaction, which might result in
Well,
Ronaldo getting sent off.
I would doubt that.
I think it was just to annoy him.
Yes.
Wind him up a bit.
Yes. And Ronaldo shouldn't have done what he did. But
should he have been sent off for it?
No, I don't think so. I mean, don't forget players. I mean, where did he hit him? Like all players now, they get a brush past them, they're down on the ground. It happens all the time. And Ronaldo did hit him all right, but did he catch him with a full punch? And
wasn't Giles and Keegan, was it?
No. Well, that was days gone by where I should have gone. There's no doubt about that. But that was a proper punch. I mean, that was a real punch.
As you told him, you got him right in the jaw.
but like, football is a very emotional game. Like, especially for our side. Like our side could do certain things, and you say, well, he did, you know, it wasn't that, and in the opposition, that's the way it is. I thought the referee wasn't good. I thought if he was favoured in any team, it was definitely them.
A lot of people have made, I think it's harsh on the referee in that he smiled when he gave the yellow card at the end to Cristiano Ronaldo and said sorry, which, listen, sometimes referees just have relationships with players, but Cristiano Ronaldo's maybe the biggest star in world football. Do you think a referee can be overawed by the player almost?
Well, I think you go in those situations on the history of the player as well. I mean, Ronaldo has been very, very good. He's very seldom been in a situation where you'd say, what a horrible tackle that was, or he's been on the end of it most of the time. And I think he was wrong and it's always wrong to raise your hand to the player. But see, when you're watching a football match and you want your team to win, Nathan, you know, we all become sort of one-sided. There's no doubt about that. But I thought if the referee yesterday was favouring anybody, it was definitely the home side.
Yeah. It wasn't quite like the referees in the 70s then that you went up against sometimes.
No.
Where there was a bit more going on.
Well, but it was different in my day now. I mean, you could commit grievous bodily harm in my day and you wouldn't get a yellow card. That's the way that was the time that was in it.
Yeah.
And that wasn't right either, you know.
Which was worse, the European Cup final or the Cup Winners' Cup final?
Probably the European Cup. Probably the European Cup. There was one instant where we scored a goal. I think Peter Lorimer scored, and they were looking at it time after time after time to find out, which is always about saying what actually happened. They couldn't find anything.
Yeah, I've seen it. Was it given? Did they claim it was given for offside, or
don't know?
Somebody was standing in front of the keeper.
Well, you could make anything up because you look and say, well, what actually happened? But there was nothing nothing confirmed in it.
I guess it sticks even more when it's probably the biggest game you ever played in, and it's your last ever game for Leeds.
Well, I didn't know it was my last game for Leeds at that particular time until Jimmy Armfield got rid of me. But that's another day's work. But no, obviously I knew I was on my way out. But you obviously want to win the Champions League.
Yeah,
Champions League. It was you know, it would have been great to win it. There's no doubt about that. But I still think I would have gone anyway.
Did you get down after a defeat like that? Like for 2 or 3 days when you get back home, would you be, don't talk to me, I don't want to talk to anyone? Or were you at that stage?
Well, I was in a peculiar stage at that time, right, because I knew I had to go.
Okay.
And it would have been great to as a last match to win it. But I was more concerned about, right, what's going to happen now. But I think when you're professional football, my take on professional football, you have to take the good with the bad, Aidan. You can't get too high, you can't get too low, because it's always the next match.
Yeah.
And if you get too low, you're not going to be prepared for the next match. You know, you get some bad defeats, really bad defeats. I remember playing with West Brom, going to Ipswich when they had a very good team, beaten 7-0. Right? And we didn't play badly. They played exceptionally well. So there's no good coming in after defeat and say to the lads, now, what the hell were you bloody doing, you useless lot and all that carry on. Because the next Wednesday or Tuesday, we were playing Aston Villa in a derby match. So the players don't become bad players overnight, and they don't become good players overnight. So you have to take in a certain way, you're not happy about it. You know what I mean? You're never happy if you're beaten. But you've got to say, well, that's football. You know, you win, don't get too high. You lose, don't get too low. And what you have to do then is, it's a bad defeat. You have to learn from it. Right? Hopefully that won't happen again. We do that, and that. Because we had, as a team, we had a lot of disappointments. We had a lot of runners up in it. But we came back. And in the end, actually, Leeds, with Bill Shankly and Don Revie, won the same amount of trophies. Do you know what I mean? But nobody said Liverpool were runners-up team. Because if you don't get to the final,
you can't lose it.
You're going to be runners-up.
Hey, you're talking to a Mayo man. You don't need to tell me about getting the finals, John. That attitude probably sums up a question I was going to ask about how the team get themselves back up for Azerbaijan on Saturday after the disappointment of the late goals. From Stephen Kenny's point of view, he played with the three at the back last night. Ireland should be superior to Azerbaijan at home. Should he now stick with that formation, the wing backs with Coleman and Doherty, or actually is it horses for horses and change things around and go a bit more attacking?
Well, you know, because you change it round, Aidan, doesn't mean you're going to be more attacking. But you have to go on what's been proven. Like when any manager comes into a new team, you don't know. You pick him and you pick him and you pick him, and that's what you think. But you don't know till you see it.
Yeah.
Now, the team played well the other night, right? So what changes in Stephen's head? Okay, you can say, well, we'll go with the same lads again and do the same thing again. Because really, what you have to do as a manager coming in like Stephen is to get to your best team as soon as you can. As soon as you can. I always said with Stephen, he's going to need at least 6 to 8 matches to be able to do that. Right? So what you do, in my opinion, is you keep the same team and work on a few things that didn't go right. But there's a good base there, I think, because the team actually played well. And it was only, 4 or 5 minutes to go. That it was lost with a special player, right? So there was a lot of good stuff in it. Now, what he's got to do, keep the good stuff and get rid of a few things that he saw that wasn't so good. That's generally what you try to do. But then the next match, you see, can be different again.
It tends to be with this Republic of Ireland side as well. I do want to talk about Ronaldo going to Manchester United because a lot has gone on in the Premier League over the last week. We'll take a quick break, but just to let you know, Northern Ireland have beaten Lithuania 4-1 in their World Cup qualifier. They needed that win. And England have beaten Hungary by 4-0 in the last couple of minutes. Raheem Sterling, Harry Kane, Harry Maguire and Declan Rice with the goals for England in Budapest. John Giles live in studio. Get your text in 53106.
Football on Off the Ball. The Eason Book Club on the Pat Kenny Show.
This month, Eason recommended another 4 books for us. Mrs. March by Virginia Faito, The Ex-Husband by Karen Hamilton, The Madness of Crowds by Louise Penny, and our Eason Book of the Month for September, The Dark by Emma Houghton. After suffering a personal tragedy, A&E doctor Kate North leaps at the opportunity to work at a research facility in Antarctica where she'll be replacing the previous doctor who died in a tragic accident. However, as time goes on and Antarctica descends into complete darkness, Kate soon suspects that his death may not have been an accident after all. The more questions she asks, the more dangerous it becomes. We'll be reviewing the book from cover to cover on Thursday, September the 16th.
The Eason Book Club on the Pat Kenny Show. Sharing book recommendations with book lovers every month.
Do join us and discover more at newstalk.com/Eason's Book Club.
Oh, Brady family ham, well, it's his your only ham. Cured for 3 full days and there's no added water. Always carved from one pork joint, other hams, well, what's the point? It's the nation's ham from Mizzen up to Malin Head. Come out, you other hams, come and face me ham to ham. Show them how you're made with mold and added water. And tell them how Brady family ham chased you away from the green and lovely fields of Kildara. Brady family ham, it's your only ham.
Undisputed, undefeated, unmissable. Taylor versus Han, Saturday the 4th of September, live on The Zone. Game changed.
Blue Sky deals have landed with KLM Royal Dutch Airlines. Take off to Barcelona, Dubai, Panama and many more destinations. Book with confidence with our flexible options at klm.ie by 16th September. Fly KLM via Amsterdam from Dublin or Cork Airport. T's and C's apply.
He's a 7-time All-Ireland winner. He's a Mayo legend. Now they're together on the same team. Join Paddy Andrews and Andy Moran for the hit of the GAA season. The Football Pod with Paddy and Andy.
9 months, you're a monk. If that goes well, then you have October, November, December, and you enjoy it, and you Lord Prince of Copperface Jacks.
Get the hop on everyone else. Hear the Football Pod and more first on the OTB Sports app every Tuesday morning. For the latest on GAA, Olympics, rugby, football and more, download the OTB Sports app, turn on push notifications and hear it here first.
Football on Off the Ball.
You're very welcome back. It's Thursday's football show, special show, because John Giles is back live in studio with us tonight. 53106, the text number, at Off the Ball if you want to get in touch on Twitter. Cristiano Ronaldo has been dominating the headlines this week, breaking our hearts last night, and maybe breaking some Manchester City hearts last Friday, because this night last week you were on, John, talking about Ronaldo going to Manchester City and the impact he would have there. And well, 24 hours, a hell of a long time in football. Word got out.
It was good timing, yeah. Old news after.
Yeah, we deleted it all, so nobody knows. It's gone forever. It seems Alex Ferguson worked his magic. All the old crew made the calls, and Cristiano Ronaldo decided to go to Manchester United. Like we've just spoken about, his absolute genius. Is this a complete no-brainer that Cristiano Ronaldo adds to Manchester United?
I think he will add to Manchester United. And funny enough, I think he would have added more to City.
Right. Why?
I think the way City play and make the chances that they do, they needed an out-and-out striker. Exactly what he does. Like what I was talking about earlier on, you don't see him. Next thing you know, he scored 2 goals. And I think he'd be made for Manchester City in doing that. Now, I think he'd do well at United, but they won't be making as many chances, I don't think, as City could with him in the way he played and always played. He'd be there, like, you know, where they're playing it here and you've got De Bruyne and they're playing round and round. He'd be in the right position on it to score. And that's all they'd expect him to do. You know what I mean? At Manchester United, they might expect him to run around a bit more. You're not doing much, because I don't think City, United have as good a players at the moment as City, and the way in which City play. So, but it was much ado about nothing. I mean, you say, well, you know, Ferdinand saying, well, you've got to come back, and Ferguson saying, you're going to come back. No, I think in Ferguson's position, they're playing, look, if you know him and really do what's best for you. You know, in fact, no, Ferguson sold him at one stage. So, like, coming back to Manchester United, I mean, if it's best for him.
You're not buying into the romance of it?
No. I think he feels that it's best for him. I think the club, actually, I think there's a financial situation there, because you see, he's got the number 7 back on the jersey. They're going to sell 100,000 jerseys, right? So that probably make up for whatever transfer fee there is or whatever they're paying him. So I think there'll be a lot to say in that particular, from the club's point of view, not the manager's point of view.
Well, it shows as well after the European Super League debacle that the Glazers, they've given the fans exactly what they want. What, as you were talking about last week, like the Manchester United supporters talking about their Ronaldo going to Manchester City did not sit well at all, whereas now they see he's back home, and there's a feel-good factor around United that really wasn't there at the end of last season.
They've done their job in that respect. I think they bought a couple of players, spent quite a bit of money, Nathan, and
Varane, Sancho.
You know, they're 2 big players. They've got a lot of good players. There's no doubt about that. But I think in football, whether it be an ex-player or a modern player, I think the best thing to do, look, do what's best for you. You know, like Manchester United is Manchester United. I mean, Ferguson doesn't work for Manchester United anymore. But it's about the club.
Yeah.
You know, I think I think it's for the lad himself.
He felt it was the best thing to do. All the comment I've heard so far is that Ronaldo's going to be a positive force in that dressing room, that most of the players, because he's 36 now, a lot of those players grew up worshipping Cristiano Ronaldo, and that his professionalism, the way that he conducts himself professionally, the physique that he keeps himself in, that will only inspire all those around him. Do you see any issue, the ego of Ronaldo going into a dressing room with a Paul Pogba, Bruno Fernandes, Marcus Rashford, Mason Greenwood?
Well, I think they could be the problems, not him. You know, I think he's always been. I've never heard a player, an ex-Manchester United player, talk badly about him. He always said he was a great pro. He was, you know, and that's the main thing. Now, You go into another dressing room, which is a different time now, different people, right? There's some players are not impressed by anybody, to be honest. He'll do his stuff, and he'll be a good example to them all. But it doesn't mean they're going to say, right, we're going to change dramatically because he's here. He'll do his own stuff, and that's all he can do.
Like, you can never have too many good players, I guess. But you watched Portugal last night, and like Bruno Fernandes, we've seen a bit of this from Bruno Fernandes over the last 6 months. Like, wasn't involved in the game. Attitude seemed to be all over the place. Was moaning at the referee from very early in the game. Like Portugal Portugal have struggled to get Fernandes and Ronaldo to play well together in the same team. Like, Mason Greenwood has scored in every game so far this season, looked as though he was going to make that central role his own. Now he's going to be stuck out in the wing once again. Like, it's going to mean a few different changes for the way Manchester United play.
Well, I think the way Fernandes plays, he's not a midfield player. He plays in front of the midfield, and he does it extremely well. But we couldn't show it from last night. But the way Ronaldo is playing now, he comes a lot deeper than he used to, and then gets in the box. That's what Fernandes does.
So they're basically going to be at the same place.
It's any coincidence that in the Euros, Fernandes didn't get in the team. I think he was left out of the team, because I think in the way that both of them are playing now, they're not helping each other. They're in each other's way. That's a bit crude. It wouldn't be, but that's where the position where Fernandes plays. He's not a midfield player, Nathan. He's a very, very good player, but he is in front of the midfield. In other words, he just plays just behind the strikers, a fair bit behind the striker, and gets on the ball. He passes the ball well, but he's not a midfield player. But Ronaldo, I saw a thing in the paper actually, and I don't go on stats. As he's got older, he's playing out of the box more, and then getting in. Now, if he does that, he's going to be beside Fernandes.
So they're just stepping on each other's toes.
So he's taken off again last night, Fernandes.
Yeah.
Right, and he said he wasn't happy about that, and I don't blame him for that. But that's the way I would read it, that they're not going to complement each other. And Ronaldo now is going to United. We'll have to wait and see. Now, are they going to change? Is he going to play deeper? Is Ronaldo going? I think Ronaldo will do what he wants to do.
Varane looked really good last weekend for Manchester United. Sancho maybe didn't make much of an impact so far, but two really strong signings. The only question mark about United again, and still seems to be in the middle of midfield, that they either couldn't get or they couldn't identify that player that they would make a big investment in the middle of midfield. Is that such a big problem that you think it might cost them going close for the title?
Well, it could do, Nathan. You have to go back to the Pogba situation. What's Pogba going to do? Is he going to be the player that he should be? Because I have my doubts about him, because what's happening at the moment, he's refused to sign a new contract.
Yeah.
And he knows come Christmas he can make his contract with a new club anyway, and then play out the few. Now, if that happens, that's bad news for Manchester United. I think he's playing well now because it's before the deal. And the better he plays now, more clubs are going to be involved with him. He does a deal. I think if he does that at Christmas, he'll stop playing for Manchester United, because he's going to say, well, what am I doing this for? I could get injured here. I'm gone.
You don't think the form is related to an increase in the quality of players alongside him, and that he's a bit more comfortable now in that role at Manchester United?
No, I don't at all, Nathan. Obviously, the better the players you're playing with, you're going to be a better player. Yeah. But if you look at Pogba, when he hasn't played well, right, it's not because of the players around him, because he doesn't care. He doesn't care enough, And I've seen him, and he's strolling around here, strolling around there, as if like the game itself for Manchester United is not for him. I'll make the best of it for myself, but it's not for him. That's the way I see Pogba. He's very talented lad, and he does certain things, and he does it, but he's not. I mean, if you talk about a team player, and a team player influences a team, you'd have to talk about Roy Keane, right? Week in, week out, getting on to players, giving his heart and soul for the club, and he wouldn't be as gifted as Pogba, but better influence. I don't see Pogba doing that unless it's about him, unless it's in his favour. I don't see him playing for the team.
There's so much going on the past week, we could be here for another hour. One player I wanted to talked to you about having watched him again last week, and the fact I think he was voted UEFA's midfielder of the season. Jorginho in that Chelsea side.
Yeah.
We spent so much time talking about the brilliance of N'Golo Kante.
Yes.
Jorginho was sort of written off after the first couple of seasons. I often think maybe because because of him, Kante was moved out of his favourite position.
That was once, but then they played together, and he still wasn't doing it. Jorginho.
What's changed? Is he doing it now? The manager, simple as that.
Yes.
And is he at a level now where you look at him and think, here is a top quality midfielder?
Well, we saw that. He showed that in the summer, and when he's played for Chelsea, he's a different player altogether. Like last year, before Tuchel came in, he was okay. He'd pass it here and he'd pass it there and he'd pass. Now there's a bit of life about him. There's a bit of goal. He's getting into tackles. I think that's definitely Tuchel saying, listen, this is not good enough. You've got to buck up. And he was very good in the Euros, as we know. He was a different player completely to the player that was giving it and easy without making an impact at Chelsea. That was my criticism. I mean, he definitely wasn't doing it. Now he's getting into tackles. He's doing it. He's putting his life and soul into the game. But that's Tuchel. I think Tuchel is a top class coach. I think he's improved everybody, and he demands it, even if lads are doing their stuff. You know, like he got Conte back into the team. Conte does that. He gives everything in every match.
Like that entire midfield now, even Mason Mount as well, who was sort of seen as the teacher's pet, Frank Lampard's boy. Like his performance in the opening weeks of the season again.
He's made a big change to it. I think have they just signed another? He's looking to sign
Saul Niguez from Atletico Madrid.
You know, like this fella, I think he knows his stuff, and I think he's a tough nut. You know. I mean, there was a lad there a few months back. He put him on as a sub, and took him off before half time. He was only there for about 15 minutes because he wasn't doing as we expected and told to do. And I think that's what he's like. I don't think he's any pally-wally stuff with the players or anything like that. I think he's a tough nut. Won't take half any nonsense. They did really well against Liverpool, defending the way they did with down to 10 men. I think he's got them at a stage where they're really going. I think he's made a huge difference to them.
Good spirit among them as well, as you can sort of see from that
and especially Jorginho. I think he would have got him to one side and said, listen, what you're doing is not good enough.
Yeah.
Now, you either get stuck in and get going, or you're on your way out.
John, we're pretty much out of time. It's been great to have you back in studio. Congratulations again on the Hall of Fame. I've no doubt it'll be a packed house at the Aviva, hopefully in November. Everyone there. Some to see Cristiano Ronaldo, but all of them, John.
I was just going to say, do you think I'd attract them that much?
Well, I've heard Ronaldo wants to make sure he times his walk out onto the pitch to the same time as you, so he'll feel the full adulation of the 50,000 people. Yeah, well, all the applause will be for you, but he'll be claiming the credit.
Got to see me about that.
John, hopefully you're back in the studio again over the next few weeks. But great to see you. We'll take a very quick break.
Football on Off the Ball.
Become a chartered accountant and transform your career. Take the flexible route and study online. Apply by